once again time to test budget backpacking gear. In case you missed it, I'm on a quest this summer to try and find the best budget backpacking gear. Last time, I tested gear from European mega brand Decathlon, and now in this video, I am going backpacking with only budget gear from REI. Oh, wow. I don't dislike it. So spongy, really warm. I have been out hiking since the break of dawn. My backpack is heavy and my shoes fit all wrong. This is my show, gosh darn. In case you don't know, REI was founded in 1938 by a group of friends who basically just wanted better prices on mountaineering equipment. And now, over 85 years later, they are the largest consumer-owned co-op in the United States with over 23 million active members. But what you might not know if you're new here is that I actually worked for REI for 12 years. And so my knowledge of REI gear, both good and bad, runs very deep. That being said, a lot of the gear that I'm using in this video is actually part of REI's new affordable backpacking line, the Trailmade collection. And this stuff is brand new to me as well. So I'm hoping that by testing this gear out and taking all of you along with me, I'll be able to kind of assess whether or not their budget gear is any good, particularly in comparison to some of the other stuff that REI carries. I will say off the bat that this REI collection of stuff is definitely one of the more expensive, affordable brands that I will be testing in this series. With that, let me show you my budget gear from REI. Cut for cat. So this is the REI Trailmade backpacking bundle. So this bundle actually comes with the Trailmade 20-degree sleeping bag, the Trailmade sleeping pad, and the Trailmade 2-person tent with a footprint. This bundle on its own costs $380. And if you were to buy the pieces of gear separately, it would cost you $385. So it's $5 cheaper to buy a bundle. But it comes in a cute bag, that's nice. All right, let us open this thing up.
What was that?
First up in here we have the Trailmade 20-degree sleeping bag. This is a mummy style sleeping bag. Boop. The regular length Trailmade weighs about 3 pounds, 4 ounces, and it costs on its own $100. We have a little zipper pocket up top here, and then on the inside we have a little bit of a draft collar, not really, but definitely like a very cozy, soft hood. Also in this bundle, we have the Trailmade sleeping pad. On its own, this sleeping pad costs about $80. The sleeping pad actually has an R value of 5.5, which is super high for a sleeping pad. That essentially means that this is warm enough for most extreme weather, cold conditions. I think it is 2 pounds, 7 ounces. It is heavy. This is a heavy sleeping pad. I don't wanna pretend that it's not. This is a self-inflating sleeping pad, which means that I should be able to open the valve up on this when we get to camp and just let it do its thing, and before I go to sleep, it'll be nice and full. Let's move on to the tent. This is the REI Trailmade 2 tent, and I actually already used this tent once in my previous video where I tested budget gear from Decathlon. So this is actually gonna be my second time taking this tent out, which is amazing because it means I'll be able to give you even better insight into what I think of this budget backpacking tent. This tent is rather heavy. Its minimum trail weight is 4 pounds, 4 ounces, but it is a 2-person tent. So if you imagine dividing that weight between 2 people, it starts to get a lot more manageable in terms of weight. That being said, they do actually make a version of the Trailmade tent that is a 1-person, and that tent costs $180 instead of the $200 that the Trailmade 2 costs. So if you're really looking to save a little bit of extra money, you could buy the Trailmade 1-person tent, and not only will it cost you less, but it'll also weigh less. And now, let's talk about the Trailmade pack. This is the REI Trailmade 60-liter pack. A larger pack is always better when you have less expensive gear, because less expensive gear tends to be bulkier and heavier. This is one thing that I think is super cool about REI's Trailmade line. It is designed to all work really well in conjunction with other Trailmade gear. So I'm hoping that it's easy enough to like stuff my sleeping bag into the bottom compartment, strap my sleeping pad to the bottom, and somehow fit my tent in this pack as well. This pack on its own costs $180. Now, before you come at me and say, look, $180 is not cheap, you're right. And I don't disagree with you. It is less expensive than most backpacking bags. It is the cheapest of all bags that REI makes, and I'm confident that it'll still hold up really well. I think. We will see.
Is it required that your budget backpacking gear have an almost disgusting level of color coordination?
When you buy the REI Trailmade collection, yes, it is. It is required. You don't have a choice.
REI was like, I'm blue, dabba-dee-dabba-die, dabba-dee-dabba-die.
Let's move on to talking about my clothing. As far as clothing goes from REI, I really just picked up 3 pieces of gear that I would consider to be budget, and that is the Trailmade fleece, the Trailmade rain jacket, and the REI Co-op 650 down jacket. This is a jacket that I have had for a long time, and full price it costs $130. If you saw my last video with Decathlon, the jacket that I used was the 4 class, which has a hood and costs $100. So I'm interested to see how this jacket compares to the 4 class. Also from the Trailmade collection, I have the REI Trailmade fleece. This fleece costs 60 bucks, which is slightly more expensive than the Decathlon fleece that I used in the last video, but it's very similar in terms of weight and style and design. And then I also have the Trailmade rain jacket. This rain jacket costs $70. Again, very similar in cost to the Decathlon rain jacket, but this one is far lighter. So I'm really excited to test this out on my backpacking trip. That being said, it's not supposed to rain, so fingers crossed, I can just leave it in the car. Can we just talk about this? I insisted on buying both the rain jacket and the fleece in the same pattern.
I'm blue, dabba-dee-dabba-die, dabba-dee-dabba-die.
I will also be using a pair of REI hiking pants. These are the Trailmade pants. These cost $70, which is more expensive than the Decathlon pants, but one of the awesome things about these is that they come in much wider range of sizes, and I feel like they fit me a lot better. I'll also be using a t-shirt from REI called the Sahara t-shirt. This is one of the most popular hiking t-shirts kind of like ever, in the US at least. This costs $35, but I will say that these t-shirts last forever. They are super comfortable, and as someone who tends to not like hiking in t-shirts, I actually love this Sahara shirt. If you saw my video where I tested Decathlon gear, you might notice that I don't have nearly as much REI brand budget gear as I had from Decathlon. That's because REI doesn't make as much stuff in-house as Decathlon does. They don't make a pot, they don't make a stove, they don't make shoes that I would consider to be budget. With that, I'm going to pack my bag up, and I will see you on trail tomorrow. Zoom, zoom, packing montage. That's so cool. On the underside of the lid on this pack, there is a how to pack your pack diagram and how to adjust your pack with a little QR code to learn more. My notebook and the game Cosmic Whip-Out. Woo! We are here at our trailhead, and of course, before we start, I have to weigh my pack. That way.
Oh my gosh.
What?
It's over 35 pounds, 36 pounds.
It feels like it. I think that's the heaviest pack I've carried in like a long time. It may also be because I brought a sandwich.
How heavy is the sandwich?
I mean, not that heavy, but like, you know, I'm like bringing lunch. I have like a insect repellent device. I did pack my rain jacket this time, and I packed my sun umbrella. A few extra things, I guess, but mostly I think that just the REI budget gear is really heavy and really bulky. Hopefully the pack is comfortable. Okay. Woo! So look at our map real fast. Follow this to Hope Lake and continue up to Mig Lake. Nice and easy. This trail is immediately starting off very steep, and my pack is feeling quite heavy. Woo-wee. Wow! This is a stellar view. Beautiful. Onward! You can look at this log. It's got all this moss on it, and then there's these little mushroom shells along the whole thing. Isn't that awesome? Neato! Is there anything as beautiful as moss in the sunlight? You like it? Yes. I just like nature. Oh, gorgeous! I can't decide if this counts as a bridge or not. Delayering.
Officially warm enough.
Wait, who am I?
Captain Morgan.
We have gone about a mile in on this trail, so here is my initial impression of this pack. It is comfortable, but it also just feels like there's a lot to it. Like there's a lot of padding in my back, there's a lot of padding on the shoulders, a lot of padding in the hip belt. There is a point where I think too much padding is a bad thing, and somewhat with this pack, it feels like it's just a lot of extra stuff that makes it cushier, but also makes it clunkier. So I don't dislike it. There's definitely a lot more pockets and a lot more organization on this bag than I had with the Decathlon pack. I have 2 hip belt pockets, I have 2 water bottle pockets, obviously I have the brain as well, and I have the big stuff pocket in the back. So that's really nice, but I do think that overall, the added weight of the pack, which I think comes from all of the extra padding and just like stuff on it, I think that makes me like it less. Because I have this sleeping pad strapped to the outside, which is not something I normally do, I am very aware of what a wide load I am right now. Onward! Come on, Tucker! It's a hard hike for the dog. Oh, there's a tiny waterfall down here. Maybe not tiny, it's actually quite big. That's lovely.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us.
It's like an old-timey mayor of Goldsville.
I found a pocket of gold up in them hills.
A little clump of moss on dirt. Looks like a little animal. Oh no, trundling. I just gave that moss hedgehog the ride of its life. We are just gonna keep on climbing. Hope Lake is our first stop, and then we're probably gonna be camping up at Mig Lake.
You ready, Tucker?
It's like fucking ready to go, bitch.
Yeah, kids show, Miranda.
Sorry.
Kids show.
All right, my bad. Ready to jamboree, my pals. We're gonna take a break here for a bit, just to eat some lunch, get Tucker some water, let him rest, and then we will knock out that last section of trail before we get to Mig Lake, which is where we're camping tonight.
What are you eating?
A kumquat.
Too sour?
Yes, hour. We are headed north on the PCT, and it should be a very short hike until we arrive at Mig. Oh, we've come to an obstacle. Yay. Woo, this is fun. Hee hee. Bridge, 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 bridge.
Bridge.
Get me to camp before midnight. I have been out hiking since the break of dawn. Oh, there's our little lake. This is a nice spot. Oh, this is gorgeous. You think we can fit 2 tents here? 1 tent here, 1 tent there?
Yeah.
Sick. Well, okay then. Welcome to camp. This is where we're setting up for the night. So I'm gonna get my pack off. We're gonna get Tucker situated. And then I'm gonna show you exactly how I packed up this bag with all of my budget gear from REI. Every time I pack new gear into a new bag, I always have to kind of figure out the best way to arrange my gear. So while it's like mostly packed the same as I always pack my bag, and there is kind of a right way to pack your bag, I want to show you how I packed this bag, just because there are some slight differences given just the bulk and heft of the gear. First up, we have my Trailmade sleeping pad on the bottom here. And then in this sleeping bag compartment, I actually have the Trailmade sleeping bag. But I want to show you how I packed some of my other stuff on the inside before we get to that sleeping bag. In my hip belt pockets, I just put my snacks in one of them and then my Garmin InReach and some insect repellent and some sunscreen in the other. Now the brain of this pack is where I loaded a lot of my extras, my cell phone, my water filter and bag. And then I also have my first aid kit, game and notebook, headlamp, and my cool tie. In this front stretch packet, it's not really much of a front stretch pocket. It just kind of has these like bungee things on the side, this elastic. So I couldn't really fit a ton in here, but I did put my sit pad, which I'm currently sitting on, along with my camp shoes and my sun hoodie. Let's talk about the inside of the bag. Boom. The body of my tent, the rain fly of my tent. Both those things are just right on top. I have my tent poles. These are slid down in the back corner of my pack all the way to the bottom. Down jacket. Also my pot, which has my stove and everything in it. The rain jacket, bear canister. All that is left are my sleep clothes, my booties, my pillow, and then of course my sleeping bag. All right, well now that I've properly yard sailed everywhere at this campsite, I think it's time to set up my tent. Come back. Right, there you go. You can just open up some of these little ventaloonies. Get a little airflow. All right, tent is all set up. Now I'm gonna chuck my self-inflating sleeping pad in here and see if I can get it to fully inflate on its own before I go to bed tonight. This is the inflate valve and this is the deflate. So what we'll do is we'll open up this inflate. You see it starting to fill up? I'm actually just gonna leave this flat. I think that this is gonna be a lot better than that Decathlon sleeping pad. One, because I've used a very similar version of the sleeping pad from REI many, many years ago. Two, is a much higher R value and therefore a warmer sleeping pad than the one from Decathlon. And it's thicker, so I think it'll be cozier. Now, I'm gonna take my Decathlon pillow. I brought my homemade pillow sack, and then I can actually slide this over top of my sleeping pad, and that should keep it in place at night. Boop. And then this little strap will go around my sleeping pad. And that should hold it in place. REI doesn't really sell a good budget camp pillow, but this camp pillow from Decathlon is one that I discovered in my very first budget backpacking video. It turned out that I was actually really impressed with this Decathlon pillow, so I am using it again in this video because I have a feeling that of all the budget pillows that I'm going to try over the course of the summer, this one might be the winner. All right, we'll put the pillow in there. Now I just need to get out my sleeping bag. Boom. All right. This is actually my second time using this Trailmade 2-person tent. My initial first impression of this tent was that I really liked how spacious it was, despite the fact that it is super heavy. But one of the things I remember kind of struggling with was just the lack of like pockets inside the tent. So tonight I'm excited to get a little bit more experience in this tent, really see if the lack of organization is a problem, and see how I feel about having such a spacious tent again, especially when I can keep the doors open and have this gorgeous view. With that, I think I'm going to de-layer and hang out here at this beautiful lake for a little bit. I just took a nap. I got up at like 4:30 in the morning, so I was feeling quite tired. So I popped into my tent and I took a little nap on my sleeping pad, and it was really, really comfortable. Like maybe the most comfortable backpacking nap I've ever taken. I'm very excited to go to sleep tonight. Now that I'm up from my little nap, I am feeling quite cold because it is very windy and chilly up here. So I'm gonna really quickly actually make some hot chocolate LMNT. Here we go, boom. LMNT. chocolate mint. LMNT is actually the sponsor of this video, and if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you know that I love LMNT. LMNT makes high quality electrolyte drink powders that have a lot of sodium in them, as well as magnesium and potassium, but no sugar. Personally, I used to kind of hate drinking electrolyte mixes because they just tasted kind of overly sweet, or I didn't like the flavors, or I just like had a really hard time with them. But with LMNT, I find that this stuff is so delicious that I actually want to drink it. And on top of that, the added benefits of replenishing my electrolytes on a hike is just incredible. I know a lot of you have already tried LMNT and reached out to me to tell me how much you love it, but if you haven't yet, you can actually place an order using the link below, which is drinklmnt.com/Miranda Goes Outside. And when you place an order there, you'll also get a sample pack of 8 of LMNT's most popular flavors. Also, I wish that this camera had smell-o-vision because, oh my gosh, like chocolatey, minty perfectness. Can you wait to film me taking a sip till it's not so hot? What? There's a dog hair in here. Two cups is 16 ounces, right? Or 480 milliliters. Yep. Nailed it. Still on the hike in today, I was very aware of how heavy my pack was. And 35 pounds for me is certainly on the heavy side, but it's not the heaviest pack that I've ever carried. And yet there was something about the way in which that pack fit me and the way in which it was kind of had to be packed that made it feel super cumbersome. I do want to give myself another day hiking with it. I'm going to ditch some water weight. I'm going to kind of adjust my packing a little bit. Maybe I'll feel better tomorrow. All of that being said, the tent I love. I think it's so spacious and cozy. That sleeping pad, I know I'm gonna have like a killer night's sleep tonight. Knock on wood somewhere. And the sleeping bag, I mean, it feels pretty nice. I feel like I'm gonna be warm enough. So fingers crossed. I am loving these REI Trailmade pants that I'm wearing right now. They're so cozy. I currently have them paired up with my REI base layers. This fleece is super, super cozy. The down jacket I used to love. I used to think was like so awesome, but I've recently discovered other budget insulated jackets that I like better. And so I'm kind of missing having a hood and like something a little bit cozier. Those are just my initial thoughts. I'll see how I feel tomorrow. For now, let's get to eating dinner. Oh my God. Pot pie. Pot pie is so good. Even when it's in a bag. I'm a little chilly. I wrapped myself in my sleeping bag for warmth. But actually now I feel pretty cozy. I definitely regret not having a jacket with a hood, or at the very least a hat with me. So this is helping.
Yes! Whip out!
I am cozied up in my sleeping bag, getting ready to go to sleep. It is about 9:30 right now. Right now, lying down, I am really cozy. This sleeping pad is super cush, and this decathlon pillow inside my pillow sack is working really, really well. I'm thinking I'm gonna sleep really well tonight, and hopefully that's true. So I will let you all know tomorrow morning if I slept as well as I anticipate I will, based on how comfortable I am right now. We'll see you in the morning. All right, good night. Good morning. It is like 5:45. I slept very well last night. This sleeping pad was just as cozy as I expected. The sleeping bag was actually
quite warm. There were a couple things I didn't love about it, but I will share all of those with you a little later once I get some coffee. Overall, great night's sleep, very cozy. Can we take a moment to appreciate the fog on the water? Look. Hello. Don't. All right, fine, do it.
Yeah!
Woo! Breakfast. Coffee.
Coffee cheers.
Cheers!
Yeah. Coffee by the lake. To think thoughts of wisdom. Trees. Happy place. Coffee. It's just beans.
Really quick, before I start packing up my camp, I wanted to just share some of my thoughts on this budget tent from REI, as well as my sleep system. This was my second time using this tent. I do think that this is very clearly a budget tent because it does not have very many pockets on the inside. There's only 2 pockets, basically. Yeah, that's it, just 2 pockets. Because it's only 2 poles that cross over, the sides of the tent kind of, go in on you a little bit. But those are really small things that I think REI has done to cut down on the cost of the tent while still making it in a way that feels really durable and high quality, super easy to set up. The main downside of this tent is just how incredibly heavy it is. Let's talk about my sleeping bag. So this is a unisex sleeping bag, and the comfort rating on this bag says that it goes down to 31 degrees and that the lower limit is 21 degrees in Fahrenheit. It probably got down into the high 30s last night. I actually slept really warm and comfortable. The downsides, there's no draft collar in this bag, so I had to keep the hood tightened all the way around my head. You can actually see, this is how tight I had it all night. It's like around my face. As far as budget bags go, this might be my favorite that I've tried yet, but I'm gonna think about that a little bit. I'm gonna compare it to the other budget bags that I have at home. So more thoughts to be shared on this when I get home later today. Okay, let me grab my sleeping pad. Okay, so I slept with my pillow inside this pillow stuff sack that I made. I was using my decathlon pillow. This is my second time using this pillow, and I am still super impressed with it. For only $10, I found it to be super comfortable. The sun is like... Let's talk about this sleeping pad. This sleeping pad is ridiculously comfortable. Rainer, you can feel this. Do you know what I mean?
That is cushy.
I think that the only downside to this sleeping pad, and it's a big one, is how heavy and bulky it is. For a budget backpacking bundle, I think they've done a really good job. That being said, I'm not necessarily sure which, if any of these pieces of gear would actually make it into my ideal budget backpacking kit. I think there are some real contenders here. I just need a little bit more time to think about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pack up my camp, hike out of here, and when I get home, I will let you know which pieces of this budget REI Trailmade collection are on the short list for my ideal budget backpacking kit. Of all of this budget REI gear that I tested, there's really only one piece of gear that I would recommend for the ideal budget backpacking kit. But before I get to telling you what that is, let's just really quickly get a couple of things out of the way. All of this REI budget gear is high quality stuff. The sleeping pad was comfortable and warm. The tent was plenty spacious, easy to set up. I loved the sleeping bag, and all of the clothing fit me really well and did exactly what it needed to do. That being said, we're kind of pushing the envelope on budget when it comes to all of this stuff. If you were to purchase just this Trailmade bundle and this Trailmade 60-liter pack, you're gonna be out $560. If you are planning on buying the Trailmade stuff, I would recommend waiting until it goes on sale because it definitely will go on sale. I literally just looked at REI Resupply and was able to find this bundle for over $100 off. That's a steal. I mentioned that there's really only one piece of gear here that I think I'd recommend for my ideal backpacking budget kit, and that is the Trailmade sleeping bag. This sleeping bag was super warm and super cozy, and I found myself really feeling like I was using a bag that was far more expensive than this actually is. This sleeping bag cost only $100, and while I wasn't totally sure if I was going to love it at first, as I used it, I just found it to be really fantastic. $100 for a synthetic sleeping bag that's decently compressible and really 3 seasons of warmth. I think that that is amazing. And I do feel like REI has designed a really great and really versatile bag in the Trailmade. This sleeping bag is right now on the short list for my ideal budget backpacking kit. If you saw the last video that I did with budget backpacking gear from Decathlon, you might be wondering why I'm not putting the tent or even the sleeping pad on this list. I really didn't care for the sleeping pad that I used from Decathlon, whereas I loved the Trailmade sleeping pad. But the reason I'm not putting this on my list for ideal budget backpacking gear is that I do feel like I can probably find something cheaper and lighter. As far as the REI Trailmade tent goes, I know for a fact that there are better, less expensive tents out there that are also going to weigh significantly less than this one. And again, this whole series is about the best budget backpacking kit, and in my mind, that means finding gear that is a good compromise between weight and cost. So, I've tested budget backpacking gear from Decathlon, and now I've tested budget backpacking gear from REI, and next up, I'm going to put together a really budget kit using only gear from Amazon, including a ton of different brands that you all have recommended to me. As always, if you liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you outside. Bye!
Miranda, what's down there?
No. Someone lost a water bottle, and Rainer wants me to tell you that if it's your water bottle, it's right there. So, here's a PSA.
If you lost a water bottle on the Tunnel Creek Trail, comment on this video.
Oh my God.